From Wall Street to Main Street to help small business owners have the same capital as corporate America and give them the same resources as a larger company. We cover business funding, business credit, scaling, business consulting, and much more. Check out the website at shieldadvisorygroup.com. Welcome to the show, The Liquid Lunch Project.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan alongside my partner, the Professor Luigi Rosabianca. What's on tap today, Lou?
Matt, there is no industry in this company that moves the economy and moves the economic needle as much as housing. And within housing, that backbone is the small home improvement guy. So if you're swinging a hammer and you're wearing a utility belt, you need to get in contact with Chad Harward, the owner, CEO, and chief trainer there at Pinpoint Management. Now, Mr. Harward, welcome to the podcast. Explain to us the secret sauce to having home improvement fellas and contractors scale and increase their productivity.
Love it. Yes. Thanks, guys. Excited to be on today. We're very passionate about, I agree, they really are the backbone of everything that goes on economically for us. And I think of all the industries, it takes a lot of, you get a lot of pound of flesh being a business owner anyway. I think they pay extra because the career they have is really tough on their bodies. And, they deserve to get that time and money freedom that every business owner desires and wants. But there's a fast track to doing that. And there's 4 key things that I wanted to bring up that to answer your question, Lou, are going to really fast track them and predict them getting maximum time and money freedom, making their jobs easier, doing what they love, but making sure that they get the get the results for that. I will give you the numbers. When I talk to a contractor, the first thing I will ask them is, the first thing we'll do is look at their money, and I will look at their profit and loss, their net profit after everyone else has been paid, divided by the hours they're working in a week. On average, the typical business owner contractor is making $10 an hour when you run the math because of all the extra hours they're putting in. Typically, the pricing on the jobs is not where it should be, and the management of the jobs just goes sideways. So all those things add up to minimal net gain. And at the end of the day, they're just go home tired going, why am I not bringing home more? Why isn't it not showing up? So let me give you 4 things, and then we can dive down into.
Please, let's do it.
Go on the 4. Okay. First thing is where their mental space is. The mental game is a big cause of poor productivity and burnout. 45% of business owners said they've experienced burnout in the last 30 days. This is an ongoing thing and ever present, especially in today's economy and with the velocity of business as it's going with technology. So focusing where their focus is, and there's 2 sides to this coin: focusing on what's in my control and focusing on what's out of my control. And most of the time, 99% of the time, when I ask, okay, which side do you focus on? Economy, government, competition, supply chain, any number of things that you have 0% control over versus things in your control, which also impact your business: marketing, sales processes, hiring a team, having job descriptions and measurements, knowing your math. So that's number 1. Where's your headspace? What are you focused on? Taking inventory of the last 24 hours, what have I been obsessing about with my business? And then determine, is that an out of control? If it is, there's always another side to that. Things are slow. Okay. Because of the inflation rates, for example, people aren't buying houses now. How do I flip that to an actionable item? I need to look at my numbers then, my profitability. Do we need to cut back? Do we need to increase our pricing? Do we need to increase our volume and start marketing and advertising? So that's step 1, focusing on what you can control, because your time is your most valuable asset. You can't get any more of it. And that's the great equalizer for everybody, is how much are you getting out of a 24-hour day? Step number 2 to growing and scaling as a contractor. Determine what you want. This sounds super simple, but so few guys can tell me, if I wave a magic wand in the next 3-5 years, what does your role in your business look like? What does your lifestyle look like? How much money have you got? Most of the time I get, I don't know. I don't even have time to think about that. I've got payroll in 2 weeks. We're just trying to get through jobs. Okay. So then it's not surprising when they go year over year going, I'm exactly where I was 5 years ago or worse. And it's because they haven't charted. The one advantage I think that comes from owning a business is you've got control of your bus. You get to determine where it arrives, when it arrives, what it looks like on the backside. The reality is all our buses are going to be parked at some point sooner or later. The difference is the sooner you start asking these questions of where I want to go, the more choices and that you have on what that looks like on the backside of that. So it's got to do 3 things to qualify as destination. It cannot be, I want to make as much money in a short amount of time. It's got to matter to you emotionally first. Because if it doesn't matter where you're going in an emotional, non-money reason, none of the strategies of building profit and productivity are going to matter, because you don't care where you're just coasting at that point. So what's your why behind your business? Is it a cause? Is it making a difference? Is it making memories, spending more time with your family, paying it forward, leaving a legacy, something like that has nothing to do with money. And then you can start putting the money behind it, which is step 2. I got to have a dollar amount that funds my next step. The house I want, the toys, the RV, traveling, whatever that next step looks like. And then also be able to maintain with what's left in the bank my desired lifestyle. So I've got a point B charted. I know what it's going to take in dollars, and now I can reverse engineer that to today, which is step 3. So first is focus. Second is decide where am I going in measurable terms. Third is, okay, now reverse engineer the math that if I need simple math, need $1 million in the bank, and currently I'm doing $1 million of sales at 10% net profit. That means I'm going to need 10 years to get there. Most of the time when I do this math, by the way, guys go, I don't have a decade in me, man. I thought I was on pace for maybe half that. So that's okay. Then you adjust your timing by 3 ways: increase sales, increase profit, or I'd recommend both. Increase your sales somewhat and increase your profit by 5%. And increase sales by 50%, and you'll win on the back side of that. So knowing those numbers, what we call key performance indicators, 50% of businesses don't know what their key numbers are. So it makes, and that's the problem. When you say growing and scaling, my experience is it's a funnel, right? So sometimes these guys they've already lost the game before they've even arrived on the job. And it's because they don't know their numbers. They haven't priced the job right from the beginning. So by the time it goes through, if you remember the Plinko game, by the time it goes, bounces around all the pegs of expenses, there's hardly anything left at the bottom. That could have been avoided had I priced it and known what my numbers were. The next step is I got to know what are all of the costs in between the point, the beginning and the end. And do I know all my costs, my overhead, my burn rates, my taxes, insurance, all the total expenses beyond time and material. Lastly, part of this is knowing the funnel. So how many leads does it take me to generate X number of bids to generate X number of sales? So if I know that to get my $1 million 5-year mark, I need to average 70 jobs a year at 20% net profit. And so therefore, if I need 70 jobs, that's going to take me 20 leads a month to generate 10 bids to generate 3 deals. Now I just reverse engineer the math. And too many times we don't know what's going on up the food chain. So that's the next step. Know your math. How many leads? How many bids? How many sales does that equal? And is that math going to get you there in 5 years or less? Otherwise, I need to adjust the upflow math. Last step, increase your speed of execution. 9 out of 10 businesses, even after they make a plan, don't execute the plan. I believe it's because they're afraid. They're afraid of what if it doesn't work. It's usually some change required. And I don't know, what if it doesn't work? Maybe we should just wait and see. Most of the contractors I talked to last October about 2023 said, what are you feeling? What are you seeing? Majority of them said, well, I know that half my job's been pulled back from contractors. So we had signed deals and they pulled back half of those. I said, well, good to know in October of 2022. So what's the plan? What are we going to do? What's next? And every answer I got from every contractor was, we're going to wait until spring and see what happens, which is the worst thing you can do because then problems left unchecked only get more expensive and bigger the longer they go without anything being done. So execution, I use a example of a monkey in this with this example. I don't know. Do you guys know how they catch monkeys?
Very carefully.
Very carefully. They'll put their favorite food in a log or a tree. Their favorite food is actually peanuts. They can smell peanuts from a long ways away. They'll put a handful of peanuts in a log or a tree inside of a hole. They have to reach in. They'll smell them, reach in, grab the peanuts, but they will not let. And the crazy thing is, once they're got them in their hand, they won't let go. The problem is they can't get their hand back out of that hole unless they do. So they're deep, deep fear. What's holding them on? They can put food out of arm's reach. They still won't hold on. They won't let go. The peanuts will go moldy. They'll hold on to them so long. And the reason is, in their mind, it's like, this is food. This is survival. This is life. If I let go, I might starve to death. So I'm going to keep it. And the problem is that might be true, but what's guaranteed to happen if they don't is they'll die holding on to them. And in business, I see this happen all the time. I call them moldy peanuts in business. It can show up in bad employees that are on your payroll that are never going to hit their number. Bad guys on the job that are constantly the ones making the mistakes. But why don't I let them go? Well, because they're a body. They're better than nothing, but they're not better than nothing. They're actually costing us 3 times because I got to fix what the mistakes they make. And then ultimately I got to go back. They got to repair it. Then I got to go do it right. Bad clients' jobs, not raising my prices. So I'm afraid I might lose my moldy customers that can't afford my services. So fear of failure is the equivalent of that monkey and surviving. Yes.
Now, Chad, that's a lot to unwrap, right? There's a lot going on there on a small business owner's day, right? There's 168 hours in a day. There's only so much you can do. There's got to be a pain point where that small business owner, the home improvement guy, is confronted with so many challenges.
Yes.
Right? He's got to do billings. He's got to do proposals. He's got to do the actual work. You got to deal with vendors, et cetera, et cetera. How does Pinpoint Management partner with that home improvements guy to create some ease during these pain points?
Great question, Lou. Bottom line, the most common quote I hear from contractors that I talk to is like, dude, I get it. I know I'm a mess. My problem is I know how to build a house, or I know how to build X. I know how to do this trade. I don't know how to build a business. Nobody taught me that. I grew up wearing a hammer. I don't know this stuff, and I don't want to go to business school. I just need it to work. And so essentially what we become, we're to business structure as to what that contractor is to building an amazing home or project. We know all the steps, and yes, there's a lot going on there. That's the problem, is it's more complicated than it seems. Just getting the phone ringing is not going to solve all the issues, but we systematically for the last 25 years have built a tried, proven process. It's taking you from start to finish wherever you're at in your business, whether you're single owner operator, whether you've got 10 employees, 20, 30, doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. You might be doing okay and paying bills, but wondering, man, I wonder if there's another level that I'm not even seeing, or could we do it even faster? And how do I gracefully transition myself out of the business is a lot that we're working on right now. So yes.
Now, specifically speaking, do you implement those systems and processes? You put those in place for the contractor?
Yes. What we'll do, it's largely a top-down model because I'm a big proponent in, I guess one of my whys when I started my company 25 years ago is I did not want to be traditional consulting where we come in and fix things for you and we'll give you a fish for a day. I want to level up my business owners to where they are empowered. They know exactly how their business works. They know the key 5 numbers that I need to be watching, and they know how to manage and measure productivity, profitability. So largely we will start with you. We'll handhold them with a strategist, guiding them every step of the way with the right tool at the right time in the right way. And then if you also need us to work with key people, we are happy to do that. We can work with sales managers, productivity managers, partners, all those types of things. We can be the bad guy. We can tell them, hey, this is where it's at.
Now, Chad, I have to imagine that you probably have a different product for, the lone wolf versus the guy that's managing 5 jobs at the same time, right? Because there's different solutions for different problems.
Yes. So a lot of it is process based. You would be surprised. We start out with looking at how they're currently bidding their jobs. How are you currently we inventory all their work, for example. Sometimes that's the problem. It's like, we've gone through and there was one contractor, we eliminated a third of their projects and he made $650,000 more that year by doing a third less work. And it's simply because we know the math.
Story.
Yeah, absolutely. So the cool thing is, you can win financially, not even having more than yourself and maybe a helper and, a scheduler, and bodies does not equal profitability and maximum growth. It's just, what am I doing with what I've got? And am I maximizing that?
Now, Chad, I want to dive deep into that thought because Matt and I have this challenge all the time, is convincing the professional to hire someone and delegate to that person when he or she has been doing that all along, because they've got this mental state that says, well, if I do it myself, I'm saving $50,000 a year.
Yep.
They don't see that myopic failure by having those 5 extra hours a week. With that entrepreneurial mindset, you can take off. So How do you convince that person to sort of, forgive the analogy, take 1 step back to be able to take 6 steps forward?
Yep. Great question, Lou. That's pretty much where the rubber meets the road. There's a strategic side and an emotional side to that too. The emotional part is, man, I love what I do. It's my brand. It's who I am. It's my fingerprint. This is my baby. I built it. And they have pride of ownership, which they should. The challenge is there's a real degree of that. So you can have that, but the other end of that stick is that's largely can be a job with your name on it. At some point, if you want to get 1 degree away from, you being in the business all the time and not being able to have a vacation and ever get away from it, I've got to involve other people, which means, okay, I've got it. The key then is we're not going to give up your brand. You're still going to have your pride of ownership, but we've got to get the secret sauce out of your head and into a process that anybody could plug and play into, just like McDonald's does. They're not phenomenally, valuable because of amazing people and they've got the right people behind the desk all the time or impeccable food. It's simply they built a process and they work the process that knows how to make money without those owners in it. And every business can run that way. But the emotional part is, okay, I'm willing to like the monkey, that's a moldy peanut. Sure. It's like, okay, at what point you got to change, you got to shift from the monkey trap to the monkey bar, which means, okay, if I let go of me doing this, then I've got to know the monkey bar is the next bar in front of me, and it's going to take multiple swings to get to the other side. And to get there, I'm going to have to let go of the one I'm used to. What got me here won't get me there. Therefore, okay, who do I want to replace me in that role? What do their job description need to be? How do I do what I do? How are they measured? And then you put the process in place and you work the process. And then the cool thing is, once you take that leap and they see, wow, other people can do this, not only as good, but better than I did. And now I don't have to be answering all the calls. I don't have to be on the job. All my time suddenly mine. When they see that, it's life-changing and they go, I should have done this a long time ago.
More importantly than that, though, If they don't do that, they will have a non-sellable business by the time
You're
they're
exactly
done.
right, Matt. Exactly. When I ask guys, where do you want to go with your business? Common answer is, I'm hoping I can sell it at some point. And then I ask them, okay, so I'm the investor. I'm coming up ready to write you a check for your business. And you got something going good. You figured out you've got a secret sauce here. My question to you is, who else knows how to do what you do? And they say, well, nobody. I mean, but as long as I'm there, everybody knows exactly what to do and it works every time. Then I say, okay, do you see the problem there? Because the minute you're out of this, then where's the value in the business? And they go, oh yeah, you're right. And so you're dead on, Matt. They think they're the asset and they're the liability. Until I get it out of my head into something that is duplicatable and scalable, you have a job and nobody wants to buy a job.
Absolutely. Standard operating procedures are essential,
Yep.
right? Because I
Yep.
mean, not even if you want to sell your company, what if you get sick?
Oh yeah.
What happens then?
Yeah, great
Right.
example. I had an HVAC contractor 3 months ago going for his routine physical. That night was in open heart surgery, 3 out of 4 arteries, 80% clogged. The doctor talked to him the next day, said, good news is we caught it soon enough. However, 2 months minimum, no work, no exceptions, nothing. You have to recover. And that client of mine said, man, I am so glad I had my business running without me, or I would have had to make some really tough decisions. And that would have been just a few years ago. I would have been in a really bad place.
Yeah. I mean, like you said earlier too, having more bodies doesn't mean more money. It actually means less time and more liability at the end of the day. And most people don't realize that because they think they think their company will be bigger with more bodies, but realistically, it's just going to take up more time and headaches over there. And they're just feeding their ego by hiring people and hiring people and hiring people. And truth of the matter is, when the economy slows, or how it's slowing now compared to where we were in 2020 with these trades, you're going to be churning people in and out, right?
Yep.
And you're going to gain a bad reputation. Now, the contractors that you work with, are they primarily residential, or are they commercial, or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. We actually work with both sides of that fence.
So one thing that we see is the residential contractor always wants to be the commercial contractor. It's their aspiration. It's what they want to do. But one thing we find a lot is they don't realize when they take on these commercial jobs, it's not as fast as getting paid as a residential job. You can go 60, 90 days, right, without bringing a paycheck. So how do you help them plan for that?
Yeah, great question, Matt. That's both sides of that fence have pros and cons. And you just brought up the biggest con of commercial is, you better be prepared to cash flow for 60 to 90 days. And therefore, kind of goes back to a couple of my original points, which is, man, then you better know your numbers. You better know where your cash is at any given time. Making decisions. Back in 2008, when we had our last recession, 30% of contractors that went bankrupt showed assets. And it was in the form of land. They put all their cash into land. They were making decisions as if, people are going to buy up houses as fast as I can build them. So I just need more land. And they were paying inflated prices. Then the crash, they have a depreciated asset. All their cash is tied up and they can't make payroll 2 weeks later and it's game over. So when you are going a long tail type model like commercial, then you got to make sure you've got the funds, whether it's either organic and I've got operating capital in the checking account, I'm a big believer in, you have some line of credit. You've got lines of credit that you can fall back on to gap loan those projects, because your client's not going to absorb that. You're going to have, that's part of the deal.
No,
you got to own that.
You bring up a great point with that too, but you even have to break the numbers down even more on the cost of the capital to borrow than doing the job, right? Sometimes the job doesn't make sense for the amount of money that you're borrowing at the price you're borrowing it for.
Right.
Just to keep your guys working is not a good idea.
100%. Yep. The just to stay busy jobs are just losers. I've got a break even analysis type model where we actually ran the numbers, because I tell these guys, what if you need to the quickest way for you to level up your business is to adjust your pricing. And you need to keep watching that. I challenge my guys to raise your prices once, if not twice a year, because you're going to have increased costs, inflation, all of these things if you're not keeping your finger on it. And show them how their break even can move like 3 months earlier in the year just by increasing price by 15%, doing the same amount of work. And then I ask them, okay, so what's the next question in your mind? When I say raise prices, what do you immediately think? Oh no, I'm going to lose business. It's like, okay, let's do the math. And we ran this scenario. What if 10% of your people, 2 bids out of 20 said, I can't afford a ticket on your bus. And therefore I can't, and so can you just take less? We ran the numbers, and even with 2 less jobs, they still arrive at their 5-year destination on time, and breaking even early in June, versus taking lower margins, and then that pushes them out to November 15th to break even because I'm not getting enough per job. So yeah, it does not make sense to just to keep me busy jobs. I would rather flip it, because usually the reason is, well, I got to keep my guys. I got to keep them busy or they're going to go somewhere else. Great. Then let's compress our year into a 9-month year if you're seasonal, and let them do maintenance and repair, anything, pay them through the slow season, tell them I'll keep paying you, but don't go out complicate it by taking loser jobs you normally would never say yes to for the sake of keeping them. Figure out ways to cash flow retaining them.
Chad, what's the state of sustainable building practices in America right now? I mean, is LEED certified building and solar panels, is that still neat and groovy?
Honestly, Lou, I get mixed reviews with that. I think for sure there's going to be cases where that makes sense. If I'm looking at it from the homeowner side, you got to make sure you're in that project, you're in that home long enough that you're going to benefit from those things you're paying for. I mean, it's cool. I love the efficiencies and the environmentally, sound and save energy, but even solar panels and things, I mean, it's a 25-year return. You've got to, or somebody else is, netting that.
Just tell them to plant a tree every time they use a 2x4.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There you go. So I don't know. I mixed reviews on that.
Chad,
more importantly, sorry, partner. One of the pain points we hear all the time within the trades is finding skilled labor. Is that still a thing? Are the trade schools kicking in and helping out? Is the apprenticeship back? Where are all these trades finding that young generation to come in?
Boy, that's the hot question right now, Lou. And I wish I had a positive answer for you. There's a generational thing to this where people just want more for less. They don't want to do the hard labor things. Yeah, I mean, trade schools are still, I've got several here that are still busy, but definitely the numbers are down from guys that are actively looking to do, contracting type projects, skilled labor. And man, it just goes to, okay, essentially remember the in control, out of control. I can either go, well, there's just nobody out there. I just, I guess we're done. Or I can look at other ways to skin that. And, it might be, hiring them away from competitors. It might be if you've got a guy that you really like that tend to run in groups. I've got an 18, 19-year-old son right now that's just starting out his career, and it's largely based where his friends are going. And they still are very tied to, and they walk and talk the same way. So one strategy is if you've got a guy on your crew, start offering incentives, recruiting incentives to go get me a friend that is also, wired like you. And that it becomes a little bit easier when it's a trainable skill, and you can bring him in. You're just needing somebody that's going to work hard, be managed with measurements, be accountable. I can train you on the craft. I can train you on the skill. And then you're going to have to probably find a few skilled people that, we need that upper caliber of person. And then there's just recruiting and retention type strategies that you can use. Social media, I think, is a big one right now, to try to appeal to people and bring them in. And we're having we're still getting good success with Indeed, as we fill teams for our clients. But it's about doing having the right type of, it's marketing, right? It's internal marketing of having the ad say the things that's going to appeal to the right person, setting expectations, that sort of thing.
Chad, I'm going to ask you this question simply because Matt and I like to keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on. What's your take on the unions? Union labor, is that like a 2 thumbs up, 1 thumb down? Like, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think similar types of things. I think it's probably, there's cases where it makes sense, and then there's cases where it's not the best fit. So, pros and cons. I think it's going to depend on that business owner's model, and where they're at. The commercial space, for sure, it's going to be more of an impact and an issue. And then the market's going to have I'm based in Utah, so not as many of those type of bigger projects like that are going to require that. But, we've got clients that work largely on government projects and different things like that it's just different set of rules, right? So I think at some point you have to look at, okay, so what are the rules of that landscape? Can I easily adapt? Can I modify? Or is it worth it? Is it worth jumping through those hoops? Do I need to modify my own business model so that I'm in a certain lane that does not require, certain rules of engagement that way, if you want to simplify it? Back to Matt's point earlier, I think it's the in and out model in business. I am a big proponent. If I can have 3 cogs to make my wheel go, I'd rather do that than 9 cogs, because I got to manage every one of those wheels. And if it's like, welcome to in and out, you got 1, 2, or 3 choices. Which one do you want? When you run a business like that, and man, it can eliminate a lot of these complexities as well.
Chad, thank you so much for being here. We want to be respectful of your time. Can you tell everybody where they can reach out to you and find you guys on social media or anywhere on the web?
Yes, absolutely. Our website is ppmanagement.com. ppmanagement.com has got all kinds of information on who we are, what we do, how we do it. If you would like some time with me, and just kind of, if nothing else, a business therapy session, I'll give you some great ideas. Just go to chatwithpinpoint.com and be happy to, visit with you there, and you can just schedule some time with me. I'm also on LinkedIn, lots of good information there, some more content, get with us, and we're happy to email you business tips and tricks, ongoing stuff. Big fan of making sure all the business owners out there and contractors win, and win big at the price they pay for their business.
Chad, thank you so much. Everybody, that's a wrap of the Liquid Lunch Project. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the show. And make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode of the Liquid Lunch Project.